Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Today I'm going to talk about a new study, a relatively new study that talks about what we talk about. But I love when science kind of backs up what we say. Gotta admit, it's tasty. It is tasty. A new study, hookup culture, good for men, bad for women. We know this. Men are designed to try and be with as many partners as they can. It's kind of how nature works. Whether you're, I don't know, a lion watching over a pride or a bull watching over some calves, that's kind of, that's what we do. Well, new study says, hey, you know what? It turns out women do it when they're in a bad place, usually, and guys do it when they're in a good place. And when it happens for guys, they're like, yeah, sweet, score. And for women, they're kind of like, I did it for validation or the wrong reasons. I don't feel so good. I'm unhappy. First, before we jump right into the article here, I just did a live stream for 4 hours over on my Better Bachelor B-Sides. It's me playing Elden Ring for 4 hours while I live stream, and I take questions from the subscribers over there. There's about 20,000. I think a couple hundred joined for the stream. Anyway, I talked about why I don't think prenups work no matter what, and we talked about health and fitness and diet, and I'm going to be starting a diet thread over on Locals. And, we talked about financing and putting money into land and what I'm going to be doing with that. So go check out the live stream. Links are down below to the B-Sides channel if you want to see that. Yeah, just kind of shooting the breeze with everybody while I play some hours of gaming. All right, from the Sci Post, casual hookups generally leads to more positive emotional outcomes for men than for women, study finds. Now, a big portion of this, and whether people want to admit it or not, the way society is designed is a man that is very successful with a lot of women is a high-value guy because he has to show he's funny, and he has to show that maybe he's interesting, and he's confident, and he's outgoing, and maybe he's got a couple of nickels to rub together. And so when a lot of women choose that man, it's kind of saying like, wow, he's got a lot to offer. For a woman to have a lot of success with a lot of men, all she has to do is say, hi, boys, available for business, and she'll get a lot of attention. And so multiple partners is a upshoot for men when it comes to social value, and it is a downgrade for women. And you can say whatever you want to about it, and you can say times are a-changing, but this is something in the lizard brain of the mind, and you can argue all you want, but it doesn't change. The facts don't care about your feelings, as Ben Shapiro likes to say. So they say women report significantly more regret, loneliness, and unhappiness than men in the wake of a hookup, according to a new research published in the Journal of Sexuality and Culture. The new findings also indicate that engaging in a casual hookup to cope with negative emotion tends to lead to negative emotional outcomes for both men and women. So it's equal. Both men and women, when coming from a negative place, feel negative about it afterwards. However, I will say there's a difference. If a guy is kind of in the dumps, he's not feeling great about himself, he's not feeling very positive or happy or whatever, the odds of him actually hooking up go down. You know, guys have to come across as funny and interesting and outgoing. A woman can kind of be down in the dumps, but she puts on some makeup, she looks pretty, and she goes out and she flirts with somebody. She doesn't have to be happy or interested. She has to be available. So, again, women kind of can do it when they're in a bad place where guys really can't to the same degree. They say it seems as though the increasing popularity of online dating is making short-term relationships more readily available to both men and women. Let me put that in parentheses. Some men, not most men, some men and women. The study author Ryan Anderson, a teaching associate at Monash University. At the same time, we're currently in the midst of an era where normative gender roles are certainly changing and are arguably different to what they were 20 years ago. Although this particular topic has been studied numerous times previously, it's very interesting and informative to re-examine the phenomenon of participation in casual hookups in the light of these circumstances. They say in the study, 701 men and women between the ages of 18 and 82, so it's not a huge subsample, but 700 people, were asked a variety of questions about their most recent hookup experience, including their motivations to engage in the hookup and its emotional outcome. The researchers defined a hookup as any sexual activity from a kiss to coital intercourse outside of a committed relationship. About half the sample indicated that they were currently in a relationship, while the other half was single. That's kind of interesting. So I guess people were hooking up while they were in a relationship. We'll have to see what they say about that. Men and women were equally likely to report engaging in the hookup because they were physically attracted to the other person or for personal enjoyment, which supports the idea that social stigma surrounding women's agency is diminishing, the researchers said. So putting people down, the social accountability, all of that is going away because women and men are partaking in the hookup just about equally, they said. Although this is a topic which has been thoroughly investigated in the past, we are arguably in an era at the moment where gender norms and expressions of orientation are different to any other time in history, Anderson told SciPost. But women were more likely than men to report that they had engaged in the hookup because they were feeling miserable, they were feeling lonely, they were felt pressured by the other person, or wanted to feel better about themselves. Women were also more likely than men to report negative emotional outcomes such as loneliness, unhappiness, rejection, regret, general negative feelings, and a perception of negative judgment from others. Conversely, men were more likely than women to report positive emotional outcomes such as greater sexual satisfaction, happiness, self-confidence, contentment, and mood improvement. Now let's talk about why this is. Again, it boils down to, for a guy to get action from a woman, he has to show that he's a higher value than the other men around him. He needs to show maybe that he's more interesting, funnier. He has to try for it. When a woman gets a lot of action from men, it's because she's made herself available. Now, maybe it's because she's also attractive and men desire her and want to be with her. But a big factor for a lot of guys is she available to do this with? And so when it happens afterwards, women can feel like, okay, I did feel a little bit of pressure. That's never a good thing. She can say, I felt lonely and wanted attention, feeling miserable, or she wanted to feel better about herself with that validation. But after it's over and that moment, that dopamine hit, that excitement is gone, the leftover feelings are, I feel used. I kind of feel I probably shouldn't have done that. It didn't help me feel better about myself, and a lot of negative outcomes. For men, it's a pat on the back. Again, because if a guy could walk into a bar and say, here I am, ladies, come get me, and women flock to him, afterwards he'd probably think, well, I should have been more selective, or, this happens to me all the time. They don't want to be with me afterwards. But for a guy to get that kind of action, again, he has to prove himself. And so when it does happen for him, it's a kind of an indicator that he is of high value and that he has been selected by these women. Because a guy just can't show up and say, here I am, and women chase after him. But since a woman can do that, just because she's been selected, just because a guy's with her, doesn't mean that he's interested with her, doesn't mean that she has any value. It just means she made herself available. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. There's no part of me that cheers about this or wants to point a finger and laugh, because this happening to women is both bad for women and men, because a lot of guys that say, I would treat a woman well. I don't want her showing up with a high body count. I don't want her showing up after she's made herself available to everybody. But if a woman is chaste and she has good value and she gives that only to me, that makes her a prize. That makes her special. That makes her valuable to me. But they don't. And so by women kind of being quick like this and easy like this, it's bad for the women, and it's bad for the men that want a serious, stable, healthy, and good relationship. I truly believe that. They say Anderson and his colleagues also found evidence that particular motivations to engage in the hookups were associated with negative outcomes. Having casual hookups to deal with feelings of loneliness, misery, unhappiness, and irritability were associated with negative emotional outcomes. But the researchers did not find a motivation that was associated with positive emotional outcomes. So again, if a guy says, I am lonely, I'm miserable, I'm unhappy, I'm irritable, so I'm going to go out and hook up, the outcomes for him are also negative. But how many men are in that mindset and are able to go out and get the hookup? It doesn't happen very often, because if you're a guy and you're Debbie Downer and you're not having much fun and you seem irritable or bummed out, a woman's not interested in being with you. Whereas a woman can kind of be bummed out, crabby, a little mean. Again, guys will say like, man, I kind of don't like her. She's mean and she's rude to me, but she's hot and she'll sleep with me, so I don't care. And you can say it's not fair, and I agree with you, but biology isn't fair. It's very difficult to predict when someone will have a positive outcome from engaging in the hookup, Anderson told SciPost. We certainly found things that predicted negative outcomes following casual hookups, and there was pretty clear evidence that there was a striking gender differences here, as is typically found with this kind of research. Consistent with previous research, we found that casual hookups generally leads to more positive outcomes for men than for women, and nothing that we looked at actually predicted a positive outcome for women. Let me pause that. He says again, nothing that we looked at actually predicted a positive outcome for women. So the casual hookup, there's nothing positive out of it that they found for women. Now you might say, she might be able to find a boyfriend, but is that boyfriend going to be quality? She might find some validation and attention, but it doesn't last very long. And in the end, she feels worse for the action than having never done it before. It's only a temporary Band-Aid on like an arterial wound. One thing which we can kind of infer from the data is that if you are engaging in casual hookups for the purpose of alleviating some kind of emotional hardship or stress, it is unlikely to lead to a positive outcome. And that's for both men and women. This comes from the study, Was It Good for You? Differences in Motivations and Emotional Outcomes Following Casual Hookups by author Billy E. McKean, Ryan Anderson, and David A. Mitchell. I jump around some of those words because you know how YouTube is with the buzzwords, so that's why I jump around those. But here's kind of the takeaway. You know, society can say, ladies, go out and do your thing. It's just fun. Don't worry about it. You know, you can be just like guys. But the truth is, number one, society doesn't view it the same way, or at least a good vast majority of society doesn't. Fair or not, they don't. And even if you do change the way society perceives this, you're never going to hit a point where a guy that's unsuccessful with women and a guy that can't get women or isn't active with a lot of women, you're never going to get women to perceive him as a winner because he's not being pre-selected by other women. And there's never going to probably be a time, again, maybe things can change, but you're never going to find a time where a woman can give herself away to dozens or hundreds of men and other men still perceive her as being high value. Because again, men who have lots of activity have to prove themselves. Women who have lots of activity are proving themselves to not be very selective and to give themselves away to lots of people, which causes men to find them of low value. And the big takeaway from this study is that when guys do get that activity, it's saying to them, hey, I did a good job. I came across as successful or intelligent or funny because I won the girl. Where women who are doing the same thing and finding lots of partners aren't saying, I won the guy. They said, I'm kind of giving myself away to lots of people for the wrong reasons, and it's not making me feel any better. So I think that's an interesting study. From Off My Chest here on Reddit, somebody posted this, but I wanted to talk about it. And she has lots of stickers and awards for this, but she says, I hate how men value my body count. And why this is important is because you can hate it all you want. If you ask a young 19, 20, 21-year-old guy that's maybe short, maybe his hair is thinning a little bit, but he's intelligent and he's smart and he's funny, He'll say, I hate how women judge me based on my hair falling out and me being short. They don't even give me a chance. You can hate it all you want, but nature is nature and selection is selection. So again, she can say that, but it's not going to change it. She says, to start this out, I'm 23 and I've had a body count of 36 men, which I know is more than average, but it's my life and I wanted to have all the fun I can. Okay. But again, notice she's talking about short-term fun. She's looking at the immediate gratification. She's looking at the immediate fun. People today do not look at the long-term ramifications of this. What are my future partners going to be like? What are people going to think of me? And again, for the good or bad, this is how it works. So you need to take this into account. It's the same thing if a guy was out there and he's successful and he drives a Lamborghini and he's in shape and he's fit. And as he gets older, and he has all the attention of women, but as he gets older, what if he gains a lot of weight and maybe he's not athletic anymore and he blows all his money? Now he's broke and he's overweight. He's not going to get nearly the same attention as when he was in shape and he was loaded. It's not fair. He's being valued for his athletic looks and his money. It's not fair. But it is what it is. Again, like we say. So they say, in the last year, I've calmed down and I want to settle down and find a man to settle down with and start a family. But that's effing impossible. When I match with a guy or just meet one in real life, the question they all ask is, what's your body count? Now, the people that say, well, it doesn't matter. But it does. Because your past and your past actions are a good indicator of your future and your future actions. People tend to continue to do what they've always done. So for the playboy that's out there, that's going out and having his fun and has the choice of lots of women, and he finds one woman that he says he wants to be with and he wants to marry her, and that's a warning sign. Why? Because when he gets that attention from other women, in his past, he just jumped on board. So the odds of him jumping on board and continuing to get all the attention and wanting to sleep with will continue. And the same thing for a woman who's not been selective and given herself to many people. The same thing when she gets other validation and the butterflies have kind of gone away in her current relationship, but she gets this attention from this hot guy at the gym or wherever. And I have a story I'm going to do about that, talk about this coming up after this video. The same thing's going to happen. She's going to say, oh boy, I have the butterflies again. It's exciting. I want to take part of this. Actions speak louder than words, and your past actions speak louder than your current words. She says, when I tell them, I get a disgusted look and I get ghosted. One time I thought I was told I've been ran through by a guy who I thought was so sweet. So I guess she thought he was a sweet guy and then he slept with her and bounced. Maybe once he found her account, or maybe he's a player. She said, it just sucks. I'm more than the men I've slept with. I have cool hobbies and interests. I've got a nice job after graduating high school. I guess I'll be a garden tool in every man's eyes. Now, let me pause here and say, I do feel bad for her. I feel bad that she believed that you can just go out and have your fun and that men will not care, and that the men that say, I don't care, I'm sorry, they're just not high value. And if you say it's not fair, let me pause and just say this. What if I read this sentence from a man? I'm short, I'm not very good looking, but I've got cool hobbies and interests. I've got a nice job after graduating college or high school, and I work very hard, and I'm intelligent, and I'm funny, and I'm outgoing, but I'm shorter and I'm not attractive. If you say, sucks to be you, dude, like, yeah, I get it. Same thing goes with her. You've made your bed. You've got to live in it. Yes, you may have great hobbies and interests, and you may have a good job and cool hobbies, whatever. But you can't undo what you've done. She says, stop DMing me for a date. I'm not interested. What's happening? Guys are wanting to know what she looks like. Guys are wanting to take her out. Why? They don't know what her hobbies and her interests are, or if she's cool. They know she's got a high body count and she's been easy. So guys are like, I'll take you out, baby. She said, and then she says, funny how the men who run this sub shut down the post that was getting something off my chest. What she probably doesn't realize is that most of the moderators on anything in Reddit anymore are actually women. So again, I don't want to, for me at least, there's nothing to laugh about. I don't think this is a ha-ha told you moment. It's just women need to stop listening to what other women that are doing this are telling you. And they need to listen to men that want to be husbands, men that want to be fathers, men that want to have a good, solid relationship. And what are those men overwhelmingly saying? I want you to not have given yourself away to everyone. I want that for me. If I'm going to provide, if I'm going to take care of you, if you're going to be the mom to our kids, I want you to prove that what you're giving me has value, that you're not going to cheat on me, that you're not going to get the butterflies and leave. And how do you prove that? By being very selective with who you share yourself with. And it is what it is. But here's another example where now the studies are coming out saying the same thing that men's channels have been saying for years. Chill out. Don't give it away for free. Make sure that it's with a relationship with somebody you care about, that you value, that you want to build a future with. Because what these women are doing after they've had their fun is then they say they want to build a future. And most men are saying, sorry, not interested. Or better, they say this.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, sir.
I don't think so. Guys, if you're here on YouTube, make sure to join me on betterbachelor.locals.com or Rumble. That's where I do dating profiles of the day. I have 2 today. So for those of you here on Locals and Rumble, let's get to it.